What's up, everybody? I don't know if anybody's in here yet. Let's see what we got going on. What we got today? Hope everybody been having a good week. Hope sales have been going good. Urethra, how you doing? That name, man. That name. Thrifty Loon, how you doing? Appreciate y'all coming and sharing your time with me. Blended Family Works. Hello. What was I just looking at? They had your name on it. I think I came across your store, actually. I think I came across your store. Blended Family. Benjamin Williams, hello. How you doing? Did I get the Leaf? Did I get the Walmart invite on used items? No, I did not, Leaf. What the heck is that about? Let me check my emails real quick and see if I missed it. Leaf, tell me more, man. Tell me more about it. While I'm looking to see my emails if I got it. Nope, no email. I wonder if I have one in the dashboard. I don't think so. I've been in my Walmart account pretty much all day listing items, so I ain't seen no invites. I would have definitely got an invite, but not yet, Lee. That's a good though, man. Let me know what they saying, man. You know, I definitely want to know details. I know Mike going to talk about it. I wonder if he got one. Be interesting. I do got a show outline today, but I do want to talk about just answer some questions I have been getting from other people. Some of the questions have been on other videos, but I did just want to go through those. But my outline is definitely related to the topic and just some of the things that I've been learning over these last few years of being solo dolo. And then, even before that, and then some of the things I am going to have like a more concentrated focus this year, man. I feel confident about this year, irregardless of what's going on. And I got one already listed, 20 CDs. Oh yeah, is that right? What y'all got going on, man? I ain't getting no invite. I wonder if they only gave it to people who had already listed used items. That might be a thing, huh? Might be a thing. Let me see something real quick. Yeah, it might be actually what happened. So, yeah, Mike, I know you happy as heck, man. Let's get into the vending machine game. Hey, I actually been thinking about doing mini cranes again, just because it's a little more passive. You don't have to worry about expiration. So I was thinking about doing the mini crane machines. They're cheap. I forget. I know we was talking about what they cost back then, man. I can't remember. I do know that it was about $700 or so a piece, but that was a few years ago. It could be more, and it depended on what type of machine. But if you can set those up, it's passive, it's toys and stuff, so you don't have to worry about expiration dates. You can set up a time like to service your route, once a month, once every 2 weeks. They're mini cranes, so you're probably gonna have to service them probably every 2 weeks, depending on how busy the location is. But Mike, that could be that's one of those extra things you can add to your business that don't require a lot of effort. You know what I mean? Once you get the machines, you get them placed, you get the toys or whatever you're gonna put in, and you just let it go, man. And you service the route once every 2 weeks or so. I actually been debating on whether or not do I want to do that. I just may, because it's so easy in this. If I can get, I probably want to get about, I don't know, 10 to 20 locations, maybe. That's a lot, but maybe 10 to 15, just for some extra cash. But I don't know. It's just a thought. Anyway, to answer some of the questions, so I had questions about like mostly Amazon stuff related to shipments, related to invoices, things like that. People asking, because there were some comments on the video and people was talking about getting suspended, having receipts and invoices and going back. And somebody said, well, then that, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack if you got to go back and track all that stuff. So Amazon, guys, I think people make Amazon way more scarier than it needs to be and way more difficult than it needs to be, okay? The main thing is just to be organized for the most part. Now, if you're doing RA, now most of us, honestly, you'll only invoices you probably going to have is the ones you use to get ungated. It's hard to find wholesalers that you can make profit. You can, and there's items that take a lot of work and a lot of research. But for the most part, a lot of times it's going to be RA items. Those usually the ones you get in trouble with anyway. What I do is this. I have one folder representing each month of the year. So from January to December. In that folder, I put any receipts or invoices that I have for products that I purchased throughout the year in that folder. Then at the end of the month, I just staple them together and they stay there in that folder. Invoices and stuff are typically only good anyway. I want to say for about a year on Amazon before they require you to get a new one. I think it's about a year or so. So now, if it's a big box store like the Walmarts, the Targets, and things like that, 9 times out of 10, they will accept it. Plus, the good thing about Walmart is Walmart actually stores everything in your seller account. So if you actually buy stuff from Walmart and you have a Walmart account, which you should, especially if you're doing RA, all that info will be right there in your account. I had to fight a counterfeit claim like that. It was an item I got from Walmart. I just sent them a screenshot of that purchase. I sent them a screenshot of the receipt in my Walmart account and all of that, and they removed it. So they'll typically accept that, and they got the barcodes. If you purchasing from a place like Ollie's, TJ Maxx, things like that, which those can be iffy sometimes. But what you want to do to increase your chances, if you do get any claims, is before you ever send the item in, before you ever list the item, because those places have their own stickers and barcodes and stuff. You want to take your receipt, you want to take that item and make sure the sticker's showing, and you want to take a picture of it, each item that represents as show that it matches up to a number on that receipt. So hey man, if you got a lot of items, look, the CYA, right? You got to cover your own behind. Then you'll keep those pictures. I keep those pictures in a Google Drive file. And the same thing with the Google Drive. I got 12 folders representing 1 month of the out of the year. And if I have any pictures that I need to upload, it'll be uploaded into that month. Once the year is over, the stuff is probably sold anyway. I'm not like selling that on Amazon. It's going to take over a year to sell. So it doesn't even matter. I just delete everything for that month, delete the whole year out, and start over. But I'll upload any of those pictures into that month. So if something happens, I have the picture for the item, and then I have it showing that it matches that barcode. Also, what you want to do is in your SKU on Amazon, you'll put it at the end of the tag, you'll put whatever store you got it from, and you'll also put the month that you bought it. So if something happens, you'll look at the item SKU, you'll see what store it came from and what month. Then you'll just go back to your folder, you'll look for that receipt. And if it's one that's from like a Ollie's or something, you'll go back to that digital folder and you'll look for any images. You'll put all that info together and then you can submit it to Amazon. The thing about Amazon is you have to be like step by step by step by step with them. 9 times out of 10, if you do that, you'll win your case. As long as you ain't doing no stupid stuff. Don't be drop shipping. Don't be doing none of that crazy stuff. It's going to be hard to win a drop shipping case, man. I heard they was giving people accounts back, but don't do no drop shipping. But counterfeit claims and things like that, if you got your ducks in a row, you can a lot of times defeat it. So that's that. Shipments are pretty easy on Amazon, especially with Inventory Lab. I haven't done a shipment in Amazon Seller Center in so long. I don't even know how to do one. I couldn't even. It's been a while, man. I think I tried one last year and it was so clunky. I just said forget it. But especially now, Inventory Lab, you can print your labels. They got 2D barcodes. You can do everything in Inventory Lab. Never have to go over to Seller Central to do nothing. And so it's so easy, man. You can do thousands of freaking units in no time over there. So if y'all ever need help or y'all ever want to do a video as far as Inventory Lab go, all that good stuff, just let me know. But that's that. Let me see what's going on before I keep moving. It's a form that they emailed to me. You have to upload photos of the exact item. Now that's good. At least you ain't got to worry about like a like on Amazon where it's like a stock photo, I guess. So you cut down on returns, I would assume, right? Hello, Maya. How are you doing tonight? Hope everything's well. Hope everything is well. You already do that. We take photos of price tag to help check. Yeah, you got to keep your ducks in a row, man. You have to. That's all they want to see. And if anybody ever need help with plans of action, if you ever get in trouble and Amazon tells you got to submit a plan of action, a lot of people get their plans of actions denied because they're not thorough and detailed enough, and it's not step by step. I've had to do 2 of them before, and they was both accepted. So if you ever need help with those, because that can mean a difference between you getting your account back or not as well. But if you ever need help with those, you can just reach out to me and I'll help you out. I am going down, narrow down this year. Walmart, Amazon, eBay only. Not going to waste any time. Yeah, it's really not, man. Especially if you're selling the right stuff, right? And plus, you got your Shopify Center, the Seller Central going on there. So, walked the student through Creative Seminar on Seller Central this past weekend. It's chalked. So. Yeah, man, that stuff is crazy. I call myself, Mike. I call myself trying to cut costs and canceling Inventory Lab, right? Listen, that lasted for about 2 days. I went and tried to do this shipment. It was about 300 units. I said, yeah, I can't do this. I can't do this. Back inside, right back up. I can't do this. Oh, man. Anyway. So today's show, talking about how to run a stable business. And because if you're in this, you're in it for the long term. It don't matter if you're in this to do it part-time, full-time, doesn't matter. The point of doing it is to make money, to do something that you like to do, and to sustain yourself, right? And so I got a few points that I want to talk about, things that have personally helped me out, not only in reselling, but also just in corporate America, running the restaurants and things like that. Because a lot of those skills translate over to any type of business, really, but definitely up into this business. What's up, DJ Cuts? DJ Cuts. So let's get right into it. Anybody got any questions about anything else, Amazon related or whatever, just let me know. So first, financial aptitude. So look, reselling or selling in general is just not about selling, right? It's not about watching some Bolo videos or watching people pull items and name off brands. And you can watch all that and still fail, right? There's some basic principles. There's some things that go into this. It's not all like, as they say, glitz and glamour, man. There's some like foundational principles that if you stick to these foundational principles and hold on to them, you can build a sustainable business. And like I said, don't matter if it's part-time, full-time, it's going to be sustained. And you'll be here long after all the other ones and the Bolo chasers and all them other people, long after they're gone. So number one is financial aptitude, okay? You got to have a basic understanding of different financial principles, whether that's what a P&L is, that's a profit and loss statement. what a balance sheet is, right? That's where you track like your assets and liabilities and stuff like that. You just have to know some simple business math, and you got to know your numbers. You can't just be doing stuff and not knowing where your money's going as far as your expenses and where your money's coming from. It doesn't matter how many platforms you sell on. It don't matter how you track it. You need to be tracking it. You got to. Every platform gives out financial statements every month. Okay. Me personally, I download mine, and quarterly I submit them to the accountant, and then he puts everything in and pretty much like splits it up between fees and all that, and then I can get like a good picture of what everything is going, or where everything is going and what I'm paying. And because like when I looked at my QuickBooks, he got it where it's like Amazon fees, man. Listen, there's so many crazy fees in there, man. There's so many crazy fees in there. It's almost sickness sometimes. But when you look at it as a whole, it's just a breakdown of how many things they charge you for. But when you look at it as a whole, it's not too bad. But financial aptitude, and this ain't just related to your financial understanding of how you're going to run your business, what it's going to take to run your business, what it's going to take over time, the type of items you source. And also, it starts with your own personal finances. So if you in debt, if you have bad spending habits personally, if you always behind on your bills, well, those same bad habits are going to translate over into your business, right? If you can't pay your bills on time, you're using too much credit cards on your personal stuff, you can't keep up, those same things are going to translate and you're going to have issues. So whereas you may have been able to have a good business or a good side hustle, you won't because of these basic things. So I would just recommend for anybody who, especially people starting out, start off with your personal finances first. And if anybody's ever thinking about going full time, if you can't control your own personal finances, do not go full time. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you probably shouldn't, but if you can't control your own personal finances, if you don't know how to segregate your finances, if you can't have a savings account and a checking account, and if you ain't disciplined enough to put a little money to the side for emergencies, if you haven't been able to master that yet, work on that first. Work on building those habits up into good habits. I'm not saying don't sell anything at all, but what I'm saying is start at the beginning. Don't get into this and then cause all these problems for yourself. Now you got problems on two fronts. You got problems at home financially, and you got problems in your business financially. So what you're going to have to address first? You're going to have to address your home stuff first, right? It's just a lot of added stress and a lot of problems that you don't need to add to yourself before you even get started. So like, I would just say, watch short videos on, I mean, there's a lot of books and things out there like that, but watch short videos on bookkeeping, some simple accounting stuff. Watch on budgeting. If you have any credit card debt, address that debt. If you have auto loans and stuff like that, depending on what it is, man, address like the most pressing issues first before you divert your resources to something else. I think I said this in another video. The one thing, if I had like anything that I would do over as far as leaving my job to go full time, it would be to stay a little longer until I paid off all of my student loans. That was the only thing that I would probably do. No, I would definitely do that. I would wait. I was a little bit impatient, but I mean, for me, that was like the worst thing. So it wasn't like I had any other issues. And I had saved up a year's worth of salary before I left my job. So I kind of prepared for it in that way. Instead of doing that, what I probably should have did was used it, paid off the loans, then saved up some more money and then waited. I probably could have waited another year or so. But for some people, you got more than that going on, right? You got a lot of stuff you got to clean up. So work on that first, all right? Financial aptitude is super important, man. Super important. If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know how to read the most basic of financial statements, if you're not, you can't be like, oh, I'm not a numbers person or I'm not a math person. Well, then you ain't a business person, man. And you can't just delegate that to somebody else because that's how people end up getting finessed out of their own money, right? You like, oh, I'm gonna just make the money, and I'll let the accountant deal with that. And you never require him to give you a P&L every month. You never ask questions about where this is going and what this is for, and you getting finessed. It happens all the time, man. So get a basic understanding of what's going on with your finances. Start off with your own personal finances before you move on to your business. Let me see if there's anything going on here. Amazon, do you ever have issues with buyers swapping out returns? So, for example, selling FBA does warehouse check. The warehouse don't care about your returns. My Amazon could care less what people send back. It ain't their money. They're gonna get their money back anyway. Because I sell a lot of stuff that can't be resold, I don't know if they swap it out or not, honestly. Yeah, I just get an email that goes into my return folder in my Google account that says refund initiated. Refund initiated or return or whatever, man. I look at it, see what it is, what the reason is, and I just kind of move on with my life. I don't know. I kind of stop stressing about something now, unless it just seemed fishy and I need to follow up with it. I don't worry about it, but I'm sure people probably switch out stuff and don't send it back. But I don't sell clothes, and I refuse to sell, especially on Amazon. I have no interest because of the refunds and returns. But the majority of the stuff I sell comes back sometimes, but I don't get that many returns. I'm under 1% on Amazon, so it ain't that big of a deal. Wrong item FBA, and then you sell it again. Well, Amazon will they'll at least inspect it. Like if it's an item that's eligible to be resold, they'll inspect it. Some items are not eligible, right? And some items are not even eligible for return, so they'll just initiate the refund. But like clothing and stuff like that, yeah, they'll get it back and inspect it because items like that are eligible to be resold. So if they get it back, they'll look at it. Now, as far as like if they get back a book instead of a shirt, what they do, I don't even know. I don't know how you would know either because it goes back to Amazon, those types of items. I've sold like what you call it, scrub outfits, you know what I mean? I remember I bought a lot of different types of scrubs and sold them. And there was times I had returns, but I never got them back. They went back to Amazon and Amazon resold them again. I think the only time I ever had Amazon send them back to me was after like they couldn't be sold like 2 or 3 times. And I was just like, send it back. This is just stupid. I keep getting returns on the same item. But depends on if it's eligible for returns. And if it is, I'm sure that they'll look at it and check it. And for the most part, you know, if it's in good shape, they'll resell it. Yeah, returns are part of the business. And that's another thing about understanding your category and I guess what the average return rate is. So that way it'll cut down on the stress. For me, pretty much anything 2.5% and under is cool. On eBay, I'm under 1%. On Amazon, it's usually about 1%, under, over a little bit, just depends. And on Walmart, I hover between 1.5% to 2.5%. So I've never seen 3%. Now in clothing, though, you might be as high as 10%, 8%, 11%. Electronics might be higher than that. But if you know that going in, you won't be stressing and you won't be tripping so much as long as you're within that percentile. You can do certain things maybe to try to cut back on those returns in that percentage, but you know, there's an average return rate for each category. And as long as you know what that average return rate is, I wouldn't even stress it. Not having debt gives you so many more choices in life. And no, it does, man. And debt is the reason for a lot of problems. Depression, right? Finance is number one of the top issues as far as relationships that don't work out, especially marriages, right? One person's financially conscious and the other one ain't. We ain't gonna say which one usually ain't, but it could go both ways, you know. But no, you know, before you ever get started in this, and I feel like a lot of the issues that people have in their reselling business are related to their lack of understanding about how finances work. Their own personal finances is probably out of order, and so their reselling finances is out of order. They spend money carelessly. They don't look at it as they look at it as an issue to have a death pile, but they don't realize the significance of what that means. Like what it means to have a pile of money sitting there and you're okay with walking past it every day, and you don't address the reason why that got there in the first place and how to make it not happen again. When I would have issues like in my restaurants and something was going on, I would be required to write an action plan. And this wasn't for every single problem, but there was something that my DM would be like, listen, you gotta, what the problem is, what caused it, how you going to fix it going forward, and it had to be like an outline. I feel like if people took that approach to their reselling business on any scale, there's no, oh, I ain't big enough. Do the small things when they're small, and you won't have as many problems when you get large. That's why you do an inventory system when you're small. That's why you start keeping your books when you're small. Do the small things when you're small, and when you get big, everything will run a whole lot smoother. And so if you did a self-action plan on why you got the death pile in the first place, I guarantee you'll never have a death pile again if you stick to the resolution tenets that you come up with. All right. So the next thing, and this is related, is spending and budget discipline. One of the best things that I learned in running those restaurants was keeping an eye on my spending, keeping an eye on a budget, right? And then there would be certain months or certain quarters where your district manager would be like, hey, we only can spend such and such amount, so on and so forth. But this is directly related to, your financial aptitude. Know exactly what you're spending, where it's going, and why you're spending it. Okay. And always go back and double check to see if you can spend less, if you can get something cheaper, and have a budget. So for me, this year will come to an end. I'll send my accountant Q4 financials. When he's done with everything, I'll pull all my numbers in QuickBooks for, this year. I'll look at all my categories. I'll look at all my expenses. And then I'll go line by line and I'll see how much I spent compared to last year, because I have budgets set for each of those categories. And I'll see how much I was over or under on those budgets. And then if I'm over on a certain budget, I'll ask myself why. Sometimes it's just unavoidable. Sometimes it makes sense. And if you sell more, of course, than you did the year before, then you'll be over budget. So, it ain't always a bad thing that you are over budget. But if you do like about the same numbers and you over budget, then there might be an issue. So I'll look at that, and then I'll have a budget in mind for the next year. So for 2024, let's say, I don't know, throw a number out there. Let's say you spend $1,000 on supplies. Well, you might say, all right, if I plan on growing, I'm probably going to spend a little bit more. Maybe you set your budget at $1,200 or $1,500, or your cost of goods, whatever you spent last year. If you want to stay around the same, then you might set your budget about the same. But if you want to raise your average sale price, then you got to assume I'm probably going to have to pay a little bit more for my cost of goods. So you might set your budget a little bit higher. So if you spend $10,000, you might say, you know what? I'm going to want to spend $15,000 this year in 2024. Or if you spend 20, you might say, you know what? I want to spend 30,000 in 2024. Then you set your budget and you try to stick it within that budget as much as possible. If a good deal come along, you might go outside of it, but you definitely don't spend money on anything, because what that does is it's going to force you to be more prudent about the types of things that you spend your money on. And you just won't be, oh, swipe the card. Oh, yeah, I'll pay for that. It's like, oh, hold up. I only got this much to spend. I only got this much left. Is this really worth it? So it's like one of those things that just force you to think a little more clearly about the decisions that you're making, right? Let's see. I already read that one. Selling the item was my main concern, not so much the item, just getting rid of them. I just don't want the wrong thing to be sent to another buyer. Nah, I don't think that would happen. I'm not saying, well, it's Amazon. Who knows what can happen with Amazon? But I wouldn't worry about that, though. I wouldn't worry about that. All right. Let me see. So financial aptitude, spending and budgeting. The next is product selection, right? And building sourcing networks. Not only sourcing networks, but selling outlets. So once you have an understanding of what's going on in your business, what's going on in your personal finances, right? You got at least a framework of a spending budget and all of that, right? What are you going to source? How are you going to source it? Where are you going to get it from? And how are you going to sell it? One of the main mistakes that I made getting started was not having a clear plan for those things. I would just see something, it looked good, I buy it, and then now what? Right? First of all, I don't even know if, because I didn't do the proper research up front anyway to even see. I might look up a few items, but I didn't fully understand. I didn't put in the full amount of work, right? So before you ever sell an item, you should know what you're going to sell and where you're going to sell it. So don't just go grab something and be like, oh, this looks like it might sell. Let me put this up. No, you should know. I think I would recommend, if a person was getting started, right, besides the whole go through your house thing, right, and look and see what you got in your house and sell that. Besides that, just to get started, see what else is selling. Figure out a category you like, something you would like to handle, something you wouldn't mind spending time on. See what's already selling and reverse source from there. I mean, there's 1,001 YouTube videos out there, but we're going to get to the whole following that guidance soon. But there are some good videos that point out good categories, good items that you can start sourcing that can make you money. But not everybody has the same type of access. So that's why it's important to already know ahead of time how you're going to, how you're going to source your product, and then how you're going to get rid of it. Which is the reason I wouldn't recommend that anybody starting out would do pallets unless you get it manifested. Definitely don't do unmanifested pallets. You don't know what you're going to get, and it takes some skill to know how to get rid of, especially if it could be some hard stuff. Manifested pallets still can be difficult, but at least when you see what's on there, you can say to yourself, all right, I know these will sell on Amazon. These right here, I could probably sell over there. These I might have to put on eBay. The rest probably going to be junk. I can just bundle up. So like have a plan already ahead of time. For y'all who like to source and you can kind of pick your items out one by one, that process is a lot easier. And I know markets go up and down, trends, go up and down and things like that. But it's a little easier to already know what sells, what you're going to source. Like you should probably not go out sourcing without already knowing exactly what you're looking for first. If you see something else along the way, cool. If after you've already sourced the items that you was looking for, then you want to go off and find something else, cool. But you should already have a plan of what you want to source and then what platform you want to sell on, which brings me to the next point, platform knowledge. What sells best where? It's hard to get platform knowledge if you all over the place. Like Mike said, Flipping Goodies, how he focusing on his 3 platforms. Not that you won't sell on other platforms. Like sometimes you just got some extra stuff and maybe you throw it up somewhere else. But where are you going to put your focus at? Where are you going to put your energy at? People are afraid to sell on platforms like Amazon and Walmart because they don't know. So a lack of knowledge breeds fear. But once you have knowledge of what it is that you're getting into, the fear goes away and you just learn how to play within the rules. You don't worry about what can happen, what may happen. May it happen? It may not, though. I'm an optimist, man. So my thing is, yeah, it might, but it might not. And then if I keep living my life based on what might happen, I'll never get nothing done, right? I'll never accomplish nothing. I can't live like that, man. So, and that's related to eBay. Even if we talking about eBay and the changes that have been going on eBay for a long time now, promoted listings, things like that. So this is knowledge that we have, man. Instead of just complaining about it, fighting against it, if you're going to sell on eBay, understand how the platform is operating today. Yesterday doesn't matter. It does not matter. Only thing that matters is today. What are they doing? If you want to sell on Amazon, what's going on today? What are the rules of the game today? And based on that, you already know what you can sell or what you can't sell. What may sell faster? Items that sell on Amazon may not sell that well on eBay. And items that sell on eBay, there's some that don't sell that well on Amazon. There's some that you can't sell on Amazon. Same thing goes for Walmart. But pick your poison first. Don't try to do too much. And then once you master it, then move on to the next thing. Some people get bogged down trying to do too much too soon, and then you run into other issues, right? This is also related to another point I wanted to make, which is, let me see if I can find this, guys. Give me a second. I'm gonna share the screen on something. If I can find it. Here we go. Let me see. See if I can get this up real quick. All right. So I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of the book Blue Ocean Strategy. And this is what I mean as far as like expanding your knowledge base, right? So basically, now there's a whole bunch of websites that you can go to. Let me start off with this one right here first. All right. So what Blue Ocean Strategy teaches is basically, essentially, what it boils down to is not to compete, is to find ways to get out of the markets that are already saturated. So if you're looking at this chart, right, it says a way for companies to enter a blue ocean where there is no competition, no rivals, right? Red Ocean Strategy: compete in current market space, beat the competition, exploit current demand, make the value cost trade-off. So a red ocean would be something like clothing. It's already a lot of competition. There's a lot of people doing it, right? Even media, books and stuff. It's still pretty saturated. There's a lot of people that sell books and things like that. So basically, essentially, if we want to relate this to reselling, it'd be any market or any category that's saturated. There's a lot of competition. Doesn't mean you can't make money. Doesn't mean you can't make money. You can make money, but there's a lot more effort that goes into it. And like it says here at the bottom, you have to make the value cost trade-off, right? So the blue ocean, though, would be create uncontested market space, make competition irrelevant, capture new demand, break the value cost trade-off. All right. Now, I'm not relating this necessarily to creating your own product or anything like that, but I'm going to get to my point in a second. Let me go back over here to this real quick. There's one that I want to look at specifically. Let's look at, I think it's Nintendo Switch. So I'm going to just read through this real quick, guys. So appreciate your patience. So it says Nintendo, the Japanese video game company, created its first console in 1977 and became internationally famous with the release of games Donkey Kong in 81 and Mario Brothers in 85. However, by the early 2000s, Nintendo was struggling as industry giants Sony and Microsoft dominated the market. In 2006, the company took a blue ocean approach, whereas Sony and Microsoft, with their expensive consoles, was running focus groups on gamers. Nintendo studied non-gamers. It looked at the gaming industry's non-customers and reconstructed elements across market boundaries to create the Wii, a console based on simplicity, functionality, and interactivity with games that dramatically raised utility for these non-customers. Nintendo eliminated or reduced factors that were thought to be vital in the market: high-definition graphics and sound, fast chips, controllers with many buttons, and violent, lifelike games, and so on. At the same time, it raised and created factors that appealed to non-customers, such as more approachable games, a focus on fun rather than computing power, and intuitive controls, right? Let me go down just a little bit. Uh, as a result of applying Blue Ocean strategy, Nintendo Wii opened up a new market, pulling in traditional non-gamers, outselling all Sony and Microsoft gaming products combined. It was a huge success until the unforeseen and dramatic technological disruption that came with the introduction of smartphones and tablets. Fast forward to 2017, Nintendo offers up another Blue Ocean strategy example with the Nintendo Switch, answering a growing demand for simple games such as the free downloadable ones on their smartphones. Nintendo created a brand new Blue Ocean with Nintendo Switch. Instead of competing with the expensive and high-end processing power of PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, Nintendo Switch was a small device that allowed users to play games on a TV and on the go, connecting seamlessly between one device and the other. All right, so I'm gonna start right there, but I highly suggest that you guys either listen to some videos of or watch some videos of or listen to the book Blue Ocean Strategy, because it's going to open up your mind to so many factors. Now, you might say to yourself, I'm not Nintendo, or I'm not Microsoft, or I'm not this business, but you are a small business, right? Even if you're just your own brand. And so instead of, look, there's nothing wrong with having your own or with having like your bread and butter. Like for me, I got my bread and butter stuff, right? Cosmetics, makeup, health and hygiene. It keeps the money coming in and flowing in. But I don't want to continue to swim in the same red ocean as everybody else, because the effort, it requires a higher effort, a higher amount of effort. And I think the issue with a lot of people and why they have problems coming into reselling, especially now, is because they're trying to get started in categories that are already oversaturated and highly competitive. If you get started, look, clothes was really, really good a few years ago. Can you make money in clothing today? Of course you can. Of course you can. But it requires a much, much, much higher degree of effort and money. Much more. You got to have a much higher, much bigger store, especially if you're doing it on eBay. There are so many groups out there teaching all them principles that all these people learned over the years to hundreds and thousands of other sellers who are going out there and doing the same thing. And so the degree of difficulty, it's like 5 or 10x what it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. And look, I can't tell you how you need to find your blue ocean, but what I would say is this: for me, if you are selling in a specific category, you have to figure out what, if the category is selling and it's in demand, there got to be other items in that category or other things in that category that are in demand for customers that could be offshoots of that one specific item, or things that are in the same category, but maybe it requires a little more access. Maybe it's a little harder to get to. Maybe it costs a little bit more money. The competition is less. Got to stop thinking about what is the easiest way to do this. What is the easiest thing to access? Because the same way it's easy for you to get, it's going to be just as easy for thousands of other people to get. The same way it's easy for you to sell, it's going to be just as easy for thousands of other people to sell. So we, got to stop thinking like, oh, I'm going to do this, or oh, I'm going to do that because everybody else is doing it. When you see YouTube videos and people showing you the same stuff over and over and over, there's thousands of people watching these videos, man. And there's thousands of people trying to sell the same exact stuff. And so you got to ask yourself, what can I do differently? What can I sell differently? What specific type of niche or items? First of all, what is going to help me get into that next barrier of entry? If you don't have a reselling license, you need to get a reselling license. If you ain't selling on Amazon, sell on Amazon. Stop complaining about being gated. Get ungated. Get ungated. You got to find ways to get out of the competition pool, man. As far as like when there's a lot going on, you know what I'm saying? Find ways to get away from that. This is one of the good things about Walmart. It's as of right now, it's as close to like a blue ocean as far as platforms go, as far as I'm concerned, because the competition is still low. There's barriers to entry. Some people are not going to want to put in the effort. Actually, a lot of people are not going to want to put in the effort. platforms like Whatnot, that's still a blue ocean. The whole live selling thing would be considered still a blue ocean when it comes to selling. Because yeah, there's people doing it, and the amount of people doing it is growing, but it's still not, it's not saturated. There's still access there. There's still ways to make a lot of money before a lot more people start coming in, before platforms like eBay start integrating it into their platform, if they do. I know they said they was, but who knows, right? Before you got Shopify stores doing it. Listen, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a big thing. And it's going to be even harder to get into. It's going to be even more competition. I know a lot of you guys, I don't know what you think about Chris at Deli Frying. I really don't care. That's neither here nor there. But I was listening to him the other day talk about it. And he was essentially saying the same thing, how live selling, not only is it not going anywhere, it's growing. He was talking about how him and other big sellers on Whatnot and people who've been doing it are so far ahead of so many other sellers, and they're only going to get more sophisticated. They're only going to grow. They're only going to get better and better with their systems. And that's going to put them so far ahead. So my whole point with this is, going into 2024, I'm not saying don't sell what sells or don't do what works initially. But if you want to survive going forward, listen, the same categories that used to work are not going to work. I'll just say that. Okay. It's not going to work. You might have to, if you want to sell clothes, you might have to start sourcing like the top brands, or maybe like you just got to put more effort into what it is that you're looking for. If you're doing it part-time, it should be that much more easier because you don't depend upon this for income, right? It's like you got your job and that's cool. And now you can invest more time in being more focused on what it is you want to sell, right? That alleviates the pallets, that alleviates the lots. You have to be more targeted. Me specifically, I have some plans as far as what I'm going to do and things that I want to pursue. I don't want to continue to just buy the pallets and the lots and things. I do that because it's good cash flow and it keeps money coming in. But I want to build my foundation on things that are going to separate me from that red ocean of competition in the current categories that I sell in. So I hope that makes sense. But y'all really should check out that book and listen to some videos on that. It'll stimulate a lot of thought, and it'll take your business in a whole other direction. Let me check out the chat real quick. If y'all got any questions or anything like that, drop them in the comments. Where we at? Okay, Maya said buying in bulk hasn't really worked out too well for me. It can be hard. It can be hard, but that's the whole thing. Back to what I was just saying about understanding what your model is. If your model isn't buying in bulk, if you ain't set up for it, if your outlets ain't set up for it, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have some problems. And those problems could deflate you a little bit. You know what I mean? Buying pallets and stuff like that. Like, there's some good pallets out there depending on who you buy from. But again, that's the network. You got to build your network up. I got people that I trust that, they've been doing me right. So I keep buying from them. And other outlets that I used to use, I don't use no more. Some of the part is okay, I'm going to give you an example. And we all seen this in one way or another. And this is kind of related to the blue ocean strategy. I've noticed a lot of wholesalers and things like that I used to buy from who had really good pallets, right? Because this was the model, right? A couple years ago, all the way up to maybe /year or two. Really good pallets. Yeah, you get some crazy stuff on there, but for the most part, really good pallet, you can make good money off of them. What I've been noticing these sellers doing now is they're basically becoming their own like wholesale. Well, I'll kind of mix that up. Whereas they was wholesaling pallets, now they want to wholesale the single item. So I noticed this. They're pulling out the items, and we already know that people pull out items to sell online, but what they're doing is now they're taking the units and they're batching them up and they're selling them at a higher price per unit. So now instead of you getting pallets where you can get these units really cheap, right? Dollar, sometimes under $1, $2 per unit, they up in the price per unit. They pulling out the good stuff for the most part. So it might be in a little better condition, so you won't get as many like bad units, but the units are higher price. And what I'm noticing is a lot of the stuff now, because they up the price on the per unit cost, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to sell these items. It was worth it when I was getting them at a 80 cent a unit, 90 cent, maybe $1.25, $1.50. But now they want $3, $4 per unit. And I know I can look at it and I know that's not worth it. It's not worth it on Amazon. It's not worth it. This is just for certain items. Even the larger items, the items with a higher average sale price. Used to be able to get them for $5, $10, depending on what it is and what it sell for. Now, man, they want almost like 60, 70% of what the sale price is, which is crazy. But they seen an opportunity in a market that didn't exist, and they exploited that. Instead of selling off these pallets and all these people coming in now and they want to get in the pallet game, I'm getting the truckloads, I'm getting the pallets. Now I'm gonna create a whole new market for myself. And for their businesses, it's probably boosted their profits, right? Now they're getting greedy though, and they charging too much per unit, and eventually that's gonna backfire on them. But they seen the opportunity there, and the ones that came in first made a lot of money. You can still make money doing that if you keep your price per unit down. But what I've been seeing is they've been getting greedy and charging way too much. But just gotta know what you're doing with lots and stuff. And if you ain't set up to do it, I wouldn't do it. That's again with setting the budget, knowing your finances. If you got a budget, and especially if your budget is tight, you shouldn't be buying a lot, probably, unless it's manifested. Again, if you got a good source and it's manifested, you know that way you can research the item. You can research the items. If it's unmanifested, don't do it. Definitely don't do it. Pallets are overpriced. Wholesale's starting to link better. A lot of pallets are overpriced. It just depends on who you get them from now. But yeah, for the most part, definitely. Oh yeah, the red ocean strategy I feel like isn't ideal right now with the current market. I don't really want to pay more promoted fees, so I need to get items with better sell through, less competition. Right, right. But also at this point, especially if you're going to sell on eBay at this point, you have to just consider fees to be part of it, right? So if you want to use the blue ocean strategy in relation to promoted listings on eBay, you can look at it this way. Sellers, and I know promoted listings been around for a while, but I feel like a lot of sellers are still being resistant. But looking at the amount of revenue that eBay is bringing in from it, it's got to be smaller sellers. It's got to be. So there's something there. So sellers who continue to be resistant are going to continue to put themselves at a disadvantage. And if the items you're selling isn't working with it, which usually is the reason why people don't want to promote, right? Usually. And look, if you don't have to, then don't. But usually the reason is because it's going to cut too much into their profit. So now you don't have a. So here's the thing. Go back to my restaurant days. What's the root cause of the problem? And if you ever sell on Amazon and you get in trouble, that's going to have to be part of your plan of action. They're going to ask you what the root cause is. And if you don't identify the root cause and how you're going to fix it, they're not going to accept your POA. But what is the root cause? So if you can't do promoted listings because you feel like it's cutting into your profit, what's the root cause? The root cause ain't promoted listings, really. The root cause is the item you're selling. Now, this is apart from sell-through, right? Apart from sell-through. Sell-through is kind of unrelated to this because the issue isn't sell-through. The issue isn't promoted listings. The issue is the profitability of the item. So the root cause is the profitability of the item. You have to search out and find more profitable items. That is the root cause. It's not promoted listings. It's not sell-through. It's the item. If the item's not working, you have to find other items. And you have to find items that are able to absorb the costs that are associated now with selling on eBay. If you want to put yourself, I guess, closer in the bluer ocean of competition and not be swimming at the bottom with everybody else trying to fight for the scraps that come down and trickle down, while everybody else who know better and who say, okay, listen, my budget for spending as far as like ads go is this much. I can afford this. I can absorb this. If I couldn't absorb it before with these items, I'm going to start sourcing other items. Look, it takes effort. This ain't easy. Like, but if you gotta, I write stuff down, man. I got multiple tablets around here because for one, I can't remember everything, but I like to go back and I like to look at it because over time and through the course of a year, you can veer off track. And so it serves as like a roadmap for me to stay on track when sometimes I get distracted. But my just sourcing better items is going to be key to surviving on this new eBay. And I say this new eBay, I mean the way that the platform is as today. Sourcing is going to be key. Don't worry about promoted listings. The only factor that should play is how it's going to affect the profitability of your current items and how it's going to affect the profitability of the items you source. But it should not affect whether or not you sell on the platform, because you can still sell and make money, and you can make a lot of money. It's just going to require some changes and adaptation to the current atmosphere on eBay. But the people who continue to swim around in that red ocean of lower bottom feeders, it's going to be very difficult. Very difficult. How you doing, Miss Lachey? Sorry I didn't get to you a little sooner. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you. Agree about clothing. However, I will say the higher sell-through model does work for clothing. It just requires being more disciplined and having wider knowledge of brands. Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. And it's just about how much work you want to put in, how much effort you want to expend. And sometimes you gotta like it is in anything, you gotta make your bones, right? You gotta start off at the bottom and work your way to the top. But who says that that's even the case, right? If you do the work up front, you really don't got to start off at the bottom. You put in the work on the front end, you get the rewards on the back end. Clothing going forward on eBay is going to be very difficult if you don't start sourcing. And I think with this new eBay, you're either going to go one or two ways, right? You're either going to go super big store with a bunch of stuff that's bread and butter and with sparsed in there with some higher average sell price items. So you're going to have a super big store to absorb the cost, or you're going to have a more concentrated store with items that have a higher average sell price, and probably a good mix of high average sell price items, and maybe not high sell through items, with items that may not have such a high sell-through. It just depends. But the shotgun effect is not going to work as well, especially if you don't want to manage a large operation. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to deal with a 5, 10, 15, 20,000 item store. But again, why do we need to do that? When you have platforms like eBay, when you have platforms like Amazon, when you have platforms like Walmart, where items sell a whole lot faster, where there's, depending on what you're selling, a lot less where a lot of people don't want to put in the effort to go through the verification process for Amazon. A lot of people don't want to put in the effort to go through the process for Walmart. A lot of people don't want to put in the effort to go through getting ungated in certain categories or for certain brands. Find out what people don't want to do, why they don't want to do it, and if there's profit there, then you do it. Let them keep on complaining about all the reasons why it's just too much work, or why it's just too much of a headache, or why it's just this or just that. Let them do it. I feel like that's the key indicator for where you need to go. When you hear people complaining about all the reasons why not to do something, it's probably the direction you want to go, because it's human nature for most people to take the path of least resistance. Most people want the path of least resistance. They don't want to put in no effort. But the problem is the biggest rewards are at the end of the things that you do that require the most effort. I mean, that's just a general rule in life, man. Get what you get. Get those items with no competition. You need to be creative and think outside of everything. Yeah. Yeah. You got Bolo videos with like 50,000 views. It ain't a Bolo no more, man. It's not a Bolo. 50,000 views. It ain't a Bolo, man. You about to have a whole lot of competition and a lot of price tanking going on. You need to find the items people ain't talking about on YouTube and in the groups. Bolo videos. Man, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, what's up, Beard? How you doing, man? Thanks for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. Yes, that definitely. And I finished that book, Profit First. That was a good book. Easy read too. I listened to it and I read it. Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming in tonight. Thank you. Yeah, there are some interesting wholesale models now. Like some people now buy at the Goodwill bins and a lot of items. Yeah. So I mean, there you go, Maya. That's another example of the blue ocean strategy, right? Where you got this live selling aspect that been added to reselling, right? And so people are doing that, and then somebody said, "Hey, you know what? And I don't know if they had money or not, but I don't want to put my own money up. I don't want to do none of that. I am going to go to the bins. I'm going to take this phone and I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to sell right out of the bins." Boom. And I cannot remember the guy's name who does that. He was on somebody's video being interviewed. I don't remember who did that interview. Y'all probably know. If y'all know the name, drop it in the chat. But like, that's a blue ocean, right? Nobody was doing that. Nobody was thinking about that. Now, since it's out there, people will probably start doing it. Don't mean you still can't make money, but like that takes creativity, right? That takes a willingness to try something new, to do something different. He didn't know how it would, and you can't be like worried about what other people think. Like, how many people, even if they thought of that, would not do it because they would be worried about what other people think? Oh, people gonna be looking at me. People gonna wonder what I'm doing. This don't look right. You just missed out on a huge opportunity. You just missed out on something that could change your business forever, change your life forever, make you a lot of money. Now you start doing this at all the bins around your area. You don't need no money up front, none of that. Zero cost of goods. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But that's a good example, man. Definitely. Smaller percentage. They're like 5%, but if I got to pay 10%, then it's time for me to look for. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And we got, you think fees are high online over the brick and mortar? Yeah, Josh always tell me about his store, man, and the cost he got to deal with. You know, he had to run that store for almost 3 months and pay all the bills before he even opened because he just things that kept happening. He had to set it up. Yeah, he had to find a way. He had to find a way to come up, and he still had his other store, so he had money come from that. But he had to pay for that store. That's the only thing I've always thought about the brick and mortar thing. I don't want to put that overhead on myself right now if I don't have to. So, but it's a different beast. Flip the World sells at the Biz. That's his name. Right. Thanks, Ping. And how you doing tonight? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Yeah, Flip the World. So that's like genius, man. That's genius, man. And it takes courage to do that. Like I said, a lot of people, even if they thought of that, they wouldn't do it because they'd be too worried about what other people would think. You know what I mean? Bolo videos. So if I tell 3 million people about Monopoly for millennials, the price will take. Yeah, it probably take 2-3 years for that price to come back. Listen, one thing I don't do when I see a bolo video, it's go out looking for the bolo. I really don't, man. I really don't. I really don't. And 9 times out of 10, when that seller tells you about that bolo, it's because the price is probably already tanked. They made their money and got out of it. So I'm just letting y'all know. If I told y'all about a bolo, it's probably not a bolo no more. I'm just being straight up. Don't go looking for bolos that people telling you is bolo. I mean, unless it's like, something rare, hard to find, I guess. But most bolos, y'all, they ain't bolos when you hear about it. Trust me. They ain't bolos when you hear about it. Yeah, Flip the World. Thanks, Mr. Shea Ping told me that. Yep. He was a genius, man. As far as I'm concerned, he's a genius. He must have read that book. He must have read Blue Ocean. Trash Panda Wholesale apparently got tired of having so much stuff in their house, so they started buying at the bins. Yeah, and you ain't got no overhead. You ain't got no inventory system. There's just so many problems that just like alleviates, man. All right, so let me wrap this up. We talked about financial aptitude, spending and budgeting, product selection, and having a network and how important that is, your platform knowledge. The other thing is you got to be a self-motivator and a self-starter, right? You got to have self-discipline because all of that is related to those things. To be able to have a budget, to be able to put in the time and effort to focus on what you're weak at, right? Going into this year, focus on what you're weak at. Me, I'm a serial procrastinator. So this year, I'm going to focus extra hard on not procrastinating, man. There's another book. I want to say is Brian Tracy, but I ain't sure, but it's called Eat That Frog. That is a very good book. If you listen to the audio, I think it's only a little over 2 hours. I just listened to it for the second time, and I finished it a couple days ago. But Eat That Frog is a really good book, and it addresses the issue of procrastination and things that you can do to overcome it. But it has to be about self-improvement, man. You got to be disciplined. You got to be a self-starter, and you got to start off with the thing that you have the most trouble in first. And a lot of people have trouble in financial issues, but nobody's going to tell you to get up and list. Nobody's going to be there to yell at you when you pull out your phone and you're sitting there like this and looking at TikTok. You done went through like 30 or 40 different videos and it's been an hour and you ain't list no items, right? Ain't nobody yelling at you. Ain't nobody looking at you. It been an hour and you ain't do no research, right? Ain't nobody yelling at you. You ain't look at no new categories. You didn't look for one item and reverse source and just go down a rabbit hole and see what you can find instead. That's funny. Oh, man, did you see that? Look at this. And your time wasted. Ain't nobody going to do it for you. You got to do it yourself. You got to do it yourself, man. You got to want it. You got to want it. Ain't nobody going to do nothing for you. Ain't nobody going to give nothing to you. You can watch the videos, all the videos you want. With the bolos or whatever, you can do all that. But at the end of the day, you got to put in the work. You know what I mean? That's the only way your business is going to survive is if you put in the work and you get around people who actually do this, man, who actually give you good advice, who actually give you good information. Bearded Picker, John, Josh, myself, Mike, Flipping Goodies, and there's a bunch of other sellers out there too. If I ain't mention you, it ain't on purpose, but there's a lot of people with some good information out there, and so you might want to just kind of focus on that. But let me see if I had anything else to close. Here's one more thing before I close. I know we're a little bit over hour. I appreciate all y'all that's still here. I'm gonna end with this one though. So I wrote down, we give the platforms too much credit for our success and our failures. And this is related to somewhat to what we was just talking about not too long ago. So what do I mean when I say we give the platforms too much credit for our success and failure? So when we talk about eBay, Amazon, right? eBay got promoted listings. Amazon got fees coming out and people will be like, oh, eBay is killing the small seller, or Amazon is killing the seller and they doing this. We giving them too much credit. Look, the platform is the platform. The policies are the policies. The fees are the fees. You have to look at it very, very in a detached manner. You know, you can't get personal. You can't take it personal. They play very little role in our success or failure. Why? Because it's just an entity. You are in control of what you put on that platform. You are, not them. They don't dictate, to a extent, of course, what you put on. When you play within the bounds of the policies of what you can list or what you can't list, everything else, that's on you. Don't give the credit to Amazon or eBay or anybody for failing if you fail, or for succeeding if you succeed, because it's a you thing. You control what you list. And so if you're listing items that are within the policy, that are profitable items, that are desirable items, if you have a business that is focused and customer centered, you focus on customer service, you're obsessed with creating as good of an experience for the customer as possible, then you're going to succeed, and nothing those platforms do will affect that. It won't. You got to stop worrying about this phantom suspension thing, or this phantom, the fees are going to put me out of business. Well, if the fees put you out of business, that's your fault. It ain't Amazon or eBay's fault. Is it going to make it more difficult and make the items you used to sell might not work anymore? Yes. It's a headache. Is it a headache? Of course it is. But let's not give too much credit. Don't give credit where credit is not due. They don't get credit for our successes, and they don't get credit for our failures. That responsibility is solely and wholly on us. It's on you, the individual. And so that, if anything, that's the only thing I want to end on, man, is that you take credit for your success, and you also take responsibility for your failures. Because if you figure it out, then you ain't going to be like, oh, Amazon, blah, blah, this, and Amazon did this for me. No, you'll be like, man, I sourced this great item, and I've been selling this, right? You take all the credit there. But it can't be Amazon's fault. It can't be eBay's fault. Promoted listings ain't going to kill your business. Your lack of selling the right items is going to kill your business, man. Seriously. But, and I ain't saying that to be hard on nobody. All I'm saying is I am a very, I always, for me, issues or like root cause, and you talking about root cause, is going to be on me. I start with me, and then I go outward. I work outward. And then I look and see, if I did the things I need to do for myself, and I put myself in the best position, what needs to change around me? It may be people, it may be places, it may be things, if that makes sense. All right, I'm going to finish up on these, and I'm going to get y'all up out here. I appreciate you again. Thank you very much. For starting on Amazon, do you recommend new people start with FBA or seller fulfilled? That's a good question, honestly. It's easier to do seller fulfilled because you don't have to create shipments. So if you just want to kind of get some stuff up there and get some sales history, that's fine. FBA does require a little bit more of a learning curve to prepare your shipments. But, there's videos out there. Plus, you got me. I'll help you out. But if you're just getting started, do some FBM. Do some seller fulfilled. And you don't necessarily got to sell. Look, books ain't the only category on Amazon, and you ain't going to be gated in every single category. Just find something that sells. If you're ungated, put it up there. If you ain't sure about IP complaints, ask around, ask people. Join some of them Amazon groups. The Amazon groups will let you know what you can't sell. Trust me. Because people going to post what they got in trouble for. They will post it over and over and over again. Thanks for all the good knowledge and motivation. You and Dalt are my go-to guys when I need help and info. No problem, Benjamin. Thank you for watching and appreciate your time, man. All right. Thank you. Let me make sure. All right, y'all. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night. A lot of people out here talking outside of it. Yeah, for real. Seriously. But look, thank y'all for joining me, man. Christmas is coming up. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Please, y'all. Please don't give up. Don't give in to the negativity. Stay focused on what you got going on. Ask questions. Utilize the resources around you, okay? Y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to y'all again next week. Thank you.